papers now there, and I'm joined by Professor Anand Menon. Good morning, Anand.
Morning, how you doing?
Very well, thank you for joining us this morning.
That's right.
And, well, Rishi Sunak dominating the front pages today. Let's start with the Telegraph and their take on all of this. Rishi Sunak replacing Liz Truss's cabinet, a third of Liz Truss's cabinet, as he vows to fix mistakes of her premiership.
Yeah, I mean, this is the story across all the papers today. It's sort of dissecting the reshuffle that happened yesterday. And I suppose the message is continuity with change, isn't it? He's brought some new people in. He's tried to bring in people from all wings of the party, both in terms of, personal loyalties to Johnson and Truss and himself and ideology. But it's very interesting that, the main officers of state, Foreign Secretary, Chancellor, Home Secretary, are as they were a week ago before Suella Braverman resigned. So it's an interesting reshuffle. We'll have to see how well this team works because it covers a wide spread of ideological opinion.
The Times this morning sum it up as Rishi keeping his friends close but his enemies closer. And I have to say I wondered whether that was the case when you look at some of the names in there, some of them incredibly loyal to Boris Johnson and his tenure as Prime Minister. Not that necessarily, they would be enemies because Rishi Sunak was also in Boris Johnson's cabinet, but looking at some of those names, a lot of them are very familiar, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think, what Sunak will say is what I'm trying to do here is promote experience. So people who've got experience of government because, as he stressed yesterday in his press conference, we're facing a serious economic crisis, so you need people who are competent. But, if you take, for instance, Suella Braverman, one of the interesting things here is she's always adopted a very hawkish position on immigration. There are others in this cabinet who'd like to see immigration liberalised to help the economy. So there are some real substantive policy disagreements amongst this team.
Will they be loyal to a man that is younger than them, arguably less experienced than them, but now holds the highest office in politics, do you think?
Well, I don't think it's his youth and inexperience are the issues, but the loyalty question is absolutely fundamental. And I think the simple answer is you never know until you've tried it and seen. There are lots of statements about the need for unity from various Conservative MPs yesterday. I think most MPs realise that if they try to change their leader again before the next election, the public might not wear it. That being said, this is a political party that is highly divided on some of the most pressing issues of our day, not least on economic policy. So it's going to be a real struggle for the Prime Minister to keep what is a very broad tent unified.
Yeah, and a number of people who have publicly disagreed with him and vice versa. And I'm just wondering whether those private meetings between himself and, I don't know, Michael Gove or Dominic Raab or somebody like that who has a great deal of experience at high ministerial level might turn around to him and say, well, you're just plain wrong. But ultimately, the buck stops with Rishi, doesn't it, now?
No, absolutely, the buck stops with Rishi. And I don't think people like Gove and Raab are necessarily the problem because, relatively speaking, in the Conservative Party, they're pretty loyal to the Sunak cause. In fact, one of the interesting things about this cabinet is that whilst there are people from all branches of the political party in it, all the major spending departments are led by people who can be seen as Team Rishi, which is interesting and shows that his focus is on the economy. But you're right, there are tensions in this party. I suppose what Conservatives will be weighing up is whether or not to wash their dirty laundry in public again, having already got rid of two prime ministers this parliament.
And talking of the public, in terms of the public reaction to Rishi Sunak's appointment as Prime Minister, what are you seeing in the polls?
Well, there's some good news today for him in the sense that a significant proportion of the public, 50%, think that they trust him with the economy. So that was sort of mission accomplished, if you like, that people see him as being able to deal with the economy. Less good for him is the fact that he's significantly behind Keir Starmer in terms of who people want to be Prime Minister. And interestingly enough, and this brings us to the way Labour might be attacking him, a significant number of people see Rishi Sunak as someone who doesn't understand their problems. That's he can't empathise with them, and that refers to the row over his wife's non-dom status, his own personal wealth, and so on. That obviously has a degree of cut-through with the public, and I think we can expect that to be a line that the Labour Party take with him.
The ace up his sleeve on that one was always that he was the creator of the furlough scheme, which was which was a scheme designed very much to help those in trouble in lockdown and throughout the pandemic. Is that enough, do you think, to convince people that he's on their side?
Well, you know the phrase "a week is a long time in politics." I mean, back then at the furlough, Rishi Sunak was the most popular politician in the United Kingdom because of what he did. But I think memories are relatively short. So I think actually what people are thinking about now is the cost of living crisis, is the recent scandals over, Sunak's personal circumstances. I'm not sure he's still getting the credit for the public for the furlough scheme that he had at the time.